as Charles redubbed it like a week after I got my kids to record that, Parliament of Papas. And we have a Reddit story actually for the Parliament of Papas. Comes from let's see, OK_science4181. Says, am I the butthole for telling my kid's mom that her husband can't have my kids while she's deployed? So instead of reading this whole thing, for time's sake, him and his ex-wife have 2 kids together. They've been divorced for 3 years. She got remarried. She is also, it doesn't say which branch of the military, but she's getting deployed. They have 50-50 custody. He told her that they're not going to be staying with their stepfather. He's going to have them full time while she's deployed for 6 months. So, question is he the butthole? Because the stepfather, who again has only known them for a couple of years. Well, I guess they've only been married for a couple of years. So, what do you guys think? Let's weigh in on this.
I don't know if this was here the first time you sent it to me, because this was only posted a day ago, but there are a couple of edits, and there's also one thing that I think you omitted when you talked about it. According to this, it says at the bottom, I want to add our custody agreement even states I get them if she deploys and we live in California. I don't know if that's like the law is different in California, or if maybe like the other mom and stepdad live in a different state, so it's hard to transport back and forth. And then the other edit on here at one point, apparently this person has not told the kids yet that their mom is deploying. He feels that it is not his position to tell the kids, and that the mom should be the one to bring it up to the kids and say that she's leaving. Especially both children are boys. Yeah. So I can kind of step in on this a little bit as someone who is married to someone with a child with joint custody,
who is a stepfather.
I'm not saying that I'm an expert on this. I'm just saying from my own standpoint, I'm torn in a tiny way. I think a lot of it depends on, and I think you brought it up, Joseph, on the fact of like, how long has the stepdad been in the picture? Like, how close is their relationship between the kids and the stepdad that would be the only parent while the mom is deployed for 6 months? And 50-50 custody, you could then also just clarify on the fact of it's probably 50 months, alternating weeks or weekends, or alternating months, or however they do it. With us, it's every other weekend. Our son's dad gets him, his biological dad, and then we get him throughout the week. So it's Monday through Friday, we have him, and then every other weekend, we take him to his stepdad on Friday. Okay. And then we get him back Sunday.
So in your instance, the biological father sees them 52 days of the year, basically, because it's 26 weekends.
Yeah, give or take, because on some school breaks, he might get him. On during the school year, it's definitely that alternating weekend. During the summer, he might get him for an extra weekend or an extra week, or over Christmas breaks, he gets a few extra days, that kind of deal.
Okay.
So let me put myself in probably the stepfather's shoes, since is what I am. I personally don't I don't know. It's weird because I am I'm going to go on record and basically say that I'm not a huge fan of the biological father. I think that's actually been mentioned on the show before.
Yeah.
On the fact that there are a few things I disagree with on his parenting style. I'm sure there's a few things he disagrees with on mine and my wife's. So he's also now remarried. But I personally don't think that the relationship with his new wife is close enough with the child here to leave him with her.
Yeah, with her alone.
If the father is not around.
What was
like? I'm not saying
what was the time period again?
So
6 months for.
Oh no, I'm sorry. No.
story.
So how long has the stepdad been in the picture?
She remarried 2+ years ago, is what it says. They've been divorced for a little over 3 years.
And they got 50-50?
Yep.
Because I'm with you, Tyler, on the 6 months for the new stepmom type of situation, and then leaving for a 6-month deployment. That's a little weird. Like the kid barely knows the other person at this point.
Yeah,
but 2 years,
not. I guess it depends on the vibe check with the stepfather, but in general, I don't think he's the butthole in this situation. I think him wanting full custody of the kids while the biological mother is deployed is reasonable.
But it's a moot point, isn't it? Because didn't the agreement say that if she gets deployed, he gets full custody until she gets back?
Correct. Yes, that is what it says.
Then he's not an a-hole. He's just trying to enforce the guidelines.
So he, from a legal standpoint, he is 100% in the right. He's just wondering from a moral standpoint if he's pushing too hard, because he's worried that he's pushing too hard. He just wants other perspectives. My wife puts up here, I have trust issues, so that would be super hard for me. The situation needs more details. Yeah, so we'd have to know how well. Ultimately, I think if I let them have any time, it definitely wouldn't be 50-50 with the stepfather. I think I would, after the mom broke the news to the kids, I think I would want to talk to them to get their opinions so that I would have a better informed decision to make.
Yeah, how old are these kids? That's the other part.
The kids are 9 and 11.
Yep, 9 and 11.
Okay, the
so
11-year-old,
technically not even.
Yeah.
Not even. I wouldn't say not old enough to make the decision mentally, and I guess morally isn't the word that I'm trying to use, but it's the closest I can get to. Justifiably, they could make the decision, but legally they wouldn't be able to make the decision.
Yeah,
because at least here in Georgia, which I don't know, like I said, they're in California, but I mean, minors are under 18,
right,
and can't legally make decisions for themselves. So the child wouldn't necessarily be able to say, oh, well, I just want to go hang out with stepdad for 6 months, or for 3 out of the 6 months. But the father could easily say, you're not going, and that is end all be all, because I am an adult and can.
Yeah. So if he's at all feeling like an a-hole on this, what I might say is, all right, how about this? How about you go spend a weekend per month with your stepdad, and we see how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, that's more than he's obligated to do.
Yeah.
Right.
It is.
And look, if I'm and Joe, put yourself in this situation as well. If they're my kids, right? They're my kids. And if I'm being faced with their mom is going away and the kids stay with their stepdad, I'm probably going to say, no, I don't want that. I mean, just on the surface of it, because he may be great, but I'm their dad, regardless of the other relationship. And
I like what a random kid here put in the chat, set up visits for the stepdad. So
Well,
instead
yeah.
of letting him have any kind of custody, if that's not what he wants to do, he could still set up times where the stepdad could come visit, assuming the stepdad even wants to. Because
Well, right.
as far as the post goes,
That's
he's
the
only
thing too,
talked
is that we
about it
don't
with
have the
the ex-wife.
stepdad's opinion.
Yeah, he's
Right.
only talked about it with the ex-wife, and the ex-wife is the one that's pushing for it. Who says the stepdad even wants that responsibility? We don't know enough about the relationship that the poster has with the stepfather, or what the relationship the kids have with the stepfather. And I think that would help provide context for it. But I agree with you, Kurt, that ultimately, if there's any kind of hesitancy to leave them alone with the stepdad, don't do it. It's his legal right not to do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, I think we came up with the answer. I think that he is not the a-hole for telling his kids that. He's the a-hole for not giving us enough details to make a better decision.
I love it. I love it.
That is the most Charles answer I've heard for someone that's not here.
Right.
I would also just say, like I said, from a stepfather's perspective, on the fact of I've been in our kid's life for a couple of years, but I mentioned earlier that he's got development issues on the autism spectrum. He's functioning in society enough, but there are some things that he needs that if I'm left alone with him, I blank and I have no idea what to do. So I think a lot of it does also depend on the capabilities of this stepfather. Because like I personally, I don't know that I would feel comfortable for 3 out of 6 months taking care of my wife's biological son, my stepson, because I personally just don't feel confident in myself enough to do it. But like you said, we don't have enough perspective from everybody in the story in this post. So
right. Yeah, it's just the other thing that this really magnifies, though, is that
communication.
Well, yes, but divorce is tough and messy.
Yes.
It just is, right? And even with the best of intentions.
Yep.
So,
and you, Charles, and we don't have any experience in that field, and I never intend to. So.
Agreed. But I don't think anybody intends to anyway.
Well, I would like to say that I agree, but I think there's too many people that are willing to keep that option open. Yeah,
you're probably right. I don't know. So. I've got very strong feelings, but that's not the question of the week.
That's right. The consensus is he is not the butthole for wanting to keep his kids.